So the next big type of assignment is going to be our labs. And lab is going to be on campus every Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to be in room 24 of the Science Building at 9 a.m. So that includes Tuesday, June 2nd. That'll be our first time meeting at 9 a.m. In room 124. That is a lab room, so we do have some dress code that you need to have goggles. You have closed-toed shoes on, and you have to have clothes covering from shoulders to your ankles, so no exposed abdomens, no exposed calves. It might be hot outside. It'll be very cold in the lab room, so I recommend bringing a sweatshirt. You do need to be in lab within the first 15 minutes of the activity starting in order to do it. You're going to be working in a group, and so that group needs to get started without you, or if there's only one person there, work with different groups, something. So you need to be there on time or in a reasonable fashion to actually get started with the activity with your group. All of the assignments will be run through Blackboard. So even though we'll do them in person, everything will be still run through Blackboard. There's a folder for each activity within the week folders. There's always going to be at least four assignments for each lab: the pre-lab questions, technique comprehension, the lab notebook, and the post-lab. So these are going to be 4 assignments for each lab, and we'll do 2 labs a week. So that means the preliminary stuff will be due on both Tuesday and Thursday. And then your post labs will be due both Wednesday and Saturday for basically the 2 assignments of the week. So those types of assignments, so we have the pre-lab, the technique comprehension, the lab notebook, and the post-lab assignment for each of the labs. You also have a participation, some teamwork grades associated with each week or each lab activity. And then we'll have 2 summative assignments kind of at the end of the term. We'll do a lab practical and a technique presentation. We do have 4 hours and 15 minutes allotted for lab. We're not going to spend 4 hours on any single lab activity. We don't have anything that takes long. These are the lab activities from like a normal semester where we have an hour 15 for lab, so it's not going to be that long. But we will still be using all that time. So approximately we'll have like 2 blocks that are 2 hours. So we'll do 9 to 11 and then 11:15 to 1:15 approximately. And so you're going to want to, whenever we'll take breaks, you always need to be back within 15 minutes. So we'll be doing other things like exams, participation quizzes, other activities in the lab. We have activities that are like in a kind of because we're compressed, we don't have enough lab meetings to do all of the labs that like I would normally do in a full semester. So I turned some of the labs into like self-contained activities that you'll still do in the lab, but you won't have like a pre-lab associated with that. We'll also work practice problems in class. We have a lot of time. So generally on any given day, we'll be doing usually at least 2, but sometimes 3 different activities. So we'll be doing the lab and an exam and some practice or a lab and another lab kind of practice activity and then kind of a quiz or something like that. All sorts of, we'll have a lot of time, a lot of activities that we'll be doing. So generally we'll be going until 1:15, we'll be using that time on campus. Also want a heads up, as these aren't going to be super relevant till the end of the semester, we'll have, or the term, which is a couple weeks away, we'll be preparing an audio video presentation on how to perform a lab technique. You can either do a pre-recorded video or perform in person. You can give the presentation. I'll give a rubric as we get closer to that time. There'll also be a lab practical at the end of the semester that covers like practical and theoretical skills. You're like working through stations of doing things that we did in the course, stuff that you did in labs. It's not meant to be anything too crazy. It's going to be things you've all seen before, and just getting kind of some, did you pay attention in lab? Were you participating, or were you kind of letting your lab partners kind of take care of everything? So with that in mind, let's head over to Blackboard and see what lab is going to look like. Okay, so we want to look for some lab material. We're going to scroll down. Everything's always going to be in the week folder. So we can scroll into week 1. And you'll note each lab has its own folder that's outside of the modules. So basically we have our first module, the Monday, Tuesday videos, the Tuesday lab, the Thursday lab gets its own video. So for this week, you just need to show up. You're going to show up. There's a handout. We're going to do everything. There's nothing due ahead of time. That's Tuesday, June 2nd. You show up. You're just going to we'll do the lab. We'll fill out everything for the notebook and the post lab. So we don't have as many assignments this time. If we scroll out for the Thursday lab activity for water purification. We do have more assignments. You'll see the pre-lab questions and ground filtration comprehension are due Thursday at 9 a.m., i.e. before we start. So we're always going to have these pre-lab questions, some sort of technique comprehension that's due, and this notebook will need to get set up. For our Tuesday, we're going to set it up on campus as part of the activity. But for Thursday, you need to be doing that ahead of time to get it started. So we want to get in the mode of every lab generally. It's going to be pre-lab questions, at least one, sometimes two comprehension assignments, and then the lab notebook to be set up before we start on either Tuesday or Thursday at 9 a.m. And then the post-labs will be due Wednesday and Saturday. And we'll talk more about how to do these different activities when we're on campus on Tuesday. If you have any questions about the lab or anything, let me know. Otherwise, there's not too much more. It's only kind of one big part of the class and then kind of some extraneous information to get through. We're almost to the end.